Good morning, this is your boy Gautam Maliga, and today we're going to be talking about Harley, the R32 Skyline. Arguably one of the most notable JDM cars in the current car scene. The Skyline R32 is something everybody dreams of owning. Now that I've owned it for almost 2 years, I could tell you if the RB25 upgrade is worth it. That's what we're going to be talking about most of the time in this video, and then I'll also give you the most up-to-date information on the most current rendition of Harley, my R32 Skyline GTST. We're going to be doing things a little different today. Right now, you know, we're going to have to resort to some iPhone quality videos, but that's okay because I've done iPhone videos before, and that was how I started this channel, and that's how we're going to do it today. So, love that. And today we're going to be talking about the RB25 turbo upgrade, which is something that a lot of GTST owners and RB20 swap owners, they do most of the time to get the most out of the RB20. So let's talk about it. Believe it or not, the RB25 turbo bolt-on upgrade is actually a very common upgrade that a lot of R32 GTST owners and a lot of RB20 owners do to their cars. Wow, almost all there. But to get a little bit more juice out of the RB20. The RB20 is a pretty lackluster engine, as a matter of fact. It's not a very sought after engine. It's very weak in comparison to its bigger brothers. But it's still a pretty stout engine nonetheless. It's actually an engine a lot of drifters use and beat the crap out of because of its high revving potential. You can rev the piss out of this engine in comparison to the RB25 and the RB26. Yes, you do have the problem where the head of the engine gets completely filled with oil. It has the same problems as every RB20 or RB series engine. But the thing is, and the key to this engine is if you're just using it in a street application, there is no need to worry about the oil issues and things like that. That is the first thing people run to when it comes to RB engines, and I think that the internet has it all wrong. These engines are very, very reliable, and with this turbo upgrade, it wakes up this engine a lot more than you think. I bought the RB25 turbo off of Evan Shanks, believe it or not. When he had his R33 GTS 25T sedan, he took his RB25 turbo off of the car because he was going to switch to a bigger single turbo. So I pounced on the opportunity to purchase the turbo off of him because I was like, well, I mean, I'm bound to do this upgrade very soon, so, you know, I might as well do it now. So obviously I took that opportunity and I went to do the replacement of the turbo using a guide I found online as sort of instructions. And if you guys need the link to that instruction manual, basically, or guide, then I can link it in the description below. And it shows you how much actual work is needed to install this turbo on your RB20 car. Now, what a lot of people seem to miss is that you are required to use the RB25 turbo outlet elbow in order to make this swap work. I was lucky enough to tell Evan that I needed his turbo elbow in order to make my swap work. Some people are actually lucky, and there is a nipple already on that elbow where you can use it as a boost reference. In my case, unfortunately, I actually drilled a hole in the stock location and tapped it and put on the fitting from the RB20 turbo onto the RB25 turbo in order to get a proper boost reference on this car. Obviously, with the swap, you have to also switch over the actuators for the wastegate because the RB25 turbo runs off an 8-pound wastegate pressure, and the RB20 obviously runs a 10-pound, and in this particular case, you would want to run more boost. Anything more than 10 pounds is kind of reaching that very red area where the turbo is starting to become a little bit more unreliable. A lot of guys online, especially the Aussie boys, will run this turbo at 12 to 15 pounds of boost and have no problem. I'm not willing to take that risk, unfortunately. It is a very healthy upgrade for this engine. When I was doing everything and I put the turbo on the car, I could feel the difference initially, but my biggest issue was I didn't have the proper fueling to back that up. So, and I only realized this later down the road. Now, with that being said, my problem was I had a rusty fuel tank. R32s have a common problem with that. But once I put a bigger fuel pump on the car, had the tank treated, this thing rips. It's definitely something that's more different than the RB20 turbo. It's not so much so that the car is faster per se, but it carries the power all throughout the rev range, as opposed to the RB20 turbo, where it kind of gives you that initial kick of boost and it kind of just falls flat on its face because it is quite a small turbo. But the RB25 turbo, with it being a little bit bigger, you get to carry that boost out a lot longer in the rev range. Yes, you do get a little bit of lag, but it's very insignificant in comparison. It carries the power a lot better, and man, I mean, is it like 400, 500 horsepower fast? No, it's not. Don't forget, the RB20 is a very small displacement engine. Not to mention the internals aren't as strong as, say, an RB25 or a 26. But with this turbo, with a little bit of a bigger turbo, turn up the boost just a tiny bit, man, it really wakes this engine up. It's a hell of a world of difference in comparison if you have the stock turbo. Would I recommend this swap to everybody who's, questioning it? It's a swap I think everybody should do because it wakes up the engine a lot more. But the thing is that you have to be prepared for the worst when it comes to the turbo itself still being a ceramic wheel housing on the exhaust. I would say if you still run the stock 10 pounds of boost pressure using the RB20 wastegate actuator, then you'll be fine. I think that the turbo will last very long. But obviously, you keep turning up the boost, you're running that fine line. I was thinking of running 12 pounds actually, but I mean, sometimes I'm even against that for real. But it's a very common swap to do. There's a video out there, a guy named Skyline Dude who used to have an R32 GTST. He did the swap. He was very happy with it. And just based off of the things that he said, I decided to just, go right ahead. I had the car taken apart anyways. So I was like, I might as well just do the swap and see, what the fuss is about. And man, it's worth it. It's 100% worth it. If you could find an RB25 turbo for a good price, then I would definitely recommend, for those asking about it, to definitely do it. It is definitely something you should pull the trigger on. Now, the one thing that is very annoying about this swap is the difficulty. You would think that a straight bolt-on turbo would be a bolt-on affair. It's a very, very crammed space that you have in that engine bay where the turbo sits, and to get the coolant lines to line up properly and to get the banjo bolts to line up properly on the engine for you to properly torque them down, it's such a pain in the butt. It's like the biggest pain in the butt ever. The bolts on the turbo, on the back of the turbo, tend to back out. The bolts on the exhaust manifold tend to back out. So yes, you do have to do a little bit more maintenance. Make sure that doesn't happen. I don't have the locking tabs on the manifold side, which I should in hindsight, but I don't. And for now, it hasn't backed out yet, but I'm saying that eventually it will. If you beat the crap out of the car, it's gonna happen. But I've been very happy with the swap so far. I would say my butt dyno would guesstimate that this car makes about low 200s in terms of horsepower. It feels much faster than my Civic, that's for damn certain. And my Civic, I know for a fact, makes about 170 horsepower to the wheels. So I would guesstimate it being about low 200s and about high 100s in the torque range. But this car is amazing with the RB25 turbo. It's definitely it's a much more fun car. So if you have any questions about the swap, you're more than welcome to ask me in the comment section below. especially if it's something that I haven't touched on in this video. Obviously, this car is a little bit overbuilt for what it is. I have ARP head studs and things like that on the car. So whether that makes a difference or not in terms of how my engine reacts to you know, the bigger turbo and stuff, I don't know. I am running a stock ECU. The stock ECU is more than enough to compensate for it, because I do have an AFR reading. I do have an AFR gauge in the car, and it runs 11 and 10s in boost, which is really, really rich. I would rather be rich and safe than be sorry. So the stock ECU, I'm very happy about the fact that it's able to compensate for the bigger turbo. It's just the bigger turbo is a little bit more laggy. You lose about 500 RPM before full boost kicks in, but it kind of doesn't really make a difference, you know, when you're driving, to be completely honest. So this has been your boy God Maliga. I'm here to talk to you about my RB25 turbo swap in my R32 GTST. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. You can follow me on Instagram. That's where I keep you guys up to date on all of my builds. And trust me, I'm gonna make more videos like this, kind of documenting the R32 build a little bit more. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more, and like the video if you enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.